Also, list all the necessary components of Chapter 1. Write a good introduction, project context, background of the problem. Formulate the statement of the problem and or objective of the study. And of course, differentiate conceptual and theoretical framework. Another objective, of course, demonstrate the significance of the study or the purpose and description of the study or project. Explain and justify the delimitation or limitation of the study, and to write a good chapter 1. Okay, what we need to consider in degree program requirements, of course, is the specific requirements mandated by the Commission on Higher Education for the different computing programs, such as the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science program, the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology program, the Bachelor of Science in Information System program, and the Bachelor of Science in Entertainment and Multimedia Computing program. In the BSCS program, which is a research-based program, thesis is a requirement. Content must be focused on the theories and concept of computing, and it should be in the form of scientific work which may be presented in the public forum. For the BSIT, BSEMC, and BSIS program, the requirement is a Capstone Project in the form of a system application for BSIT or an enterprise resource plan for BSIS program. Both thesis and Capstone Project are considered courses that require a culminating activity that generates an output useful in the development of a solutions. Thesis is research activity, while Capstone Project involves design. For someone who are asking what is a thesis, no? A thesis may be defined as the report of a scholar upon some piece of research which he has completed. It is the culmination of a devious process extending from the initial insights into the opportunity for investigation to the insertion of the final footnote, based on Cole and Bigelow in 1935. In the area of computing, it is defined as a technical report on a systematic investigation of a problem that can be solved using computing. It may include a solution, an appropriate or partial solution, a scientific investigation, or the development of results leading to the solution of the problem, which is stated to our CMO 25 series of 2015 provided by the Commission on Higher Education. So, what is a capstone project? A capstone project is an undertaking appropriate to a professional field. It should significantly address an existing problem or need. An information systems capstone project focuses on business processes and the implication of introducing a computing solution to a problem, while an information technology capstone project focuses on the infrastructure, application, or processes involved in implementing computing solution to a problem. Of course, for the BSEMC program, the Capstone project deals with game development and digital animation technology under CMO2 series of 2014. Under OBE parlance, a capstone project is the design completed by a student which results in an optimum use of the resources, demonstrating his competencies gained from his educational experiences. Lavinia described or subscribe to the recommendation of the Philippine Society of IT Educators and Computing Society of the Philippines in choosing topics but not limited for each program area, which is similar to the sample thesis and capstone guideline issued by the Commission on Higher Education. For computer science, of course, okay, so as suggested topics per program listed in CMO 25 series of 2015. For computer science, in current computer science topics, of course, software and development theory, mobile computing systems, software extensions or plugins, expert system and decision support system, system software, so for example, software tools, utilities, interpreters, simulators, compilers, and security aspects. Intelligent systems, game development, computer vision, image and signal processing, natural language processing, pattern recognition, and data mining, bioinformatics, graphics application, cloud computing, parallel computing, embedded system, and emerging technologies. For foundation of computer science, as a student, you could able to do an automata in formal languages, data structure and algorithm design and analysis, web semantics, coding theory, programming languages, visualization systems, computer and architecture, modeling and simulation, grid computing, and pervasive computing. For human-computer interaction, of course, usability, affective computing, and empathic computing. Now, for information systems, of course, software development and information system planning. For software development, of course, software customization, information system development for an actual client, web application development, and mobile computing system. For IS planning or information system planning, the student could able to create a capstone project related to enterprise resource plan and information system strategic plan. Analysis and design of a sufficiently complex business system is also allowable in information system track. Okay, for multimedia and entertainment computing, actually in 2014, CHED issued CMO2 series of 2014, a policies and standard and guidelines for Bachelor of Science in Entertainment and Multimedia Computing program. This program is similar to BSIT program but focuses on game development and digital animation technology. Now, this will be the CHED's suggested documentation template or format. For computer science thesis foundation of CS, of course, the CHED suggested title page, abstract, table of contents, list of figures, list of tables, and list of notations. To continue, introduction of course, background of the problem, statement of the problem, objective of the study, significance of the study, scope and delimitation or scope and limitations. Then, still related literatures, theoretical background, proposed solution to the problem, results and discussions, conclusions and recommendations, and appendices. For CS or Computer Science Thesis Software Development, title page, abstract or executive summary, table of contents, list of figures, list of tables, list of notations. Related literatures, technical background, design and methodology, results in discussion, conclusions and recommendations, and appendices. For IT and IS Capstone Project, the suggested documentation format as follows: title page, executive summary, table of contents, list of figures, list of tables, list of notation. Introduction, project context, purpose and descriptions, objective of the study, scope and delimitations or limitations, related literature or related systems, technical background, methodology, results and discussions, requirements analysis and documentation, design of software, systems, product, or process. Development and testing, if applicable. Description of the prototype, if applicable. Implementation plan, infrastructure and deployment. Implementation results, recommendations, and appendices. Irrespective of the format you will be using, this is only the guide how to effectively write each of the components of your thesis or capstone project. Thus, it will be mandatory for us to discuss every component of the thesis or capstone project included in the above or mentioned template provided by Commission on Higher Education Technical Panel for IT Education. In addition thereto, some thesis and capstone project components which were not included in the above template or the mentioned template, such as theoretical framework, conceptual framework, synthesis, among others. And this thesis or capstone project components may be adapted by schools and university in the exercise of its academic freedom. Moreover, it will provide discussion on the distinguishing characteristic of the components of thesis and capstone projects. So, the statement of the problem of a computer science thesis and objectives of the project of a capstone project. Significance of the study of a computer science thesis and purpose and description of a capstone project, among others. In formulating these guidelines, Dr. Lavinia's group used as reference the work of Calmorin and Calmorin 1995, as well as the work of Sevilla, Ochave, Punsalan, and Oriarte, and made the necessary modification and amendments so that it will be fitted for computing students. Guidelines in writing the introduction is a good introduction of an IT and IS capstone project should contain a discussion of all the following. Number 1, presentation of the importance of the system software, algorithms, processes, or an enterprise resource plan to be designed and or developed. Organizations have long recognized the importance of managing key resources such as labor and raw materials. Information has now moved to its rightful place as a key resource. Decision makers are beginning to understand that information is not just a byproduct of conducting business, rather it fuels business and it can be the critical factor in determining the success or failure of a business. To maximize the usefulness of information, a business must manage it correctly, just as it manages other resources. Managers need to understand that costs are associated with the production, distribution, security, storage, and retrieval of information. The strategic use of information for positioning a business competitively should not be taken for granted. The sample IT and IS capstone project, and strictly speaking, is not for the BSCS program. Of course, the dean or the program head, in the exercise of his discretion, may accept as thesis a project which should be considered as a capstone project only, considering the difficulty of the thesis requirement for the BSCS program. Number 2 is the research locale. Tell something about the organization or group where the research will be conducted. This organization usually is the target beneficiary of the proposed system software. This part may not applicable for BSCS thesis. Instead of research locale, a description of the area in computer science under study shall be discussed in computer science theses. A continuation in writing a good introduction, number 3, is the existence of the unsatisfactory condition, a felt problem that needs a solution. A solution that involves development of a system software. And number 4, a desire to find a better way of doing something or improving the present system. if all the elements of a good introductions are present so that in the end it will be able to convince the reader or a person who shall be benefited by the proposed project that there is really a need in doing the same, then such introduction had a set the project context of a capstone project, and bear in mind that the project context forms part of the introduction. The project context is the environment in which a project is undertaken. It has two key perspectives: internal as defined by the organizational structure, management, behavior, and culture; external as defined by the business environment in which the organization operates, including legislation and regulation, professional and industrial standards, and market sectors. The project sponsors and managers need to understand both the internal and external factors that can affect their projects. This topic explains environmental factors that affect projects. It describes approaches for analyzing internal and external factors and managing stakeholders. This is the reason why project context is not included in thesis involving foundation of computer science. The above discussion, except number 2, is also applicable for a BSCS research. Instead of focusing on the research local, the researchers should provide a background on the area of computer science involved in this project. Here is the good introduction. Number 1, presentation of the importance of the software to be developed. This must be the start of an introduction. Here is the software to be developed is artificial intelligence. Today, advanced technology is trying to master the creation of the brain related to the world of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the ability of machines to do things that people would say require intelligence. Artificial intelligence aims to improve machine behavior in tackling such complex tasks. Together with this, much of the AI research is allowing us to understand our intelligent behavior. There are many different approaches to artificial intelligence, and none of which are either completely right or wrong. Over the year, trends have emerged based on the state of mind of influential researchers, funding opportunities, as well as available computer hardware. For number 2, a description of the area in computer science under study. In our example about computer science under study is EI, artificial intelligence research is attempt to discover the described aspect of human intelligence that can be stimulated by machines. A good example, play games of strategy and learn to play better than people. Gaming is one genre of software programming that has been slowly borrowing more and more from the field of artificial intelligence. Game playing has remained a valuable subfield of AI research, with the potential of shedding light on and testing AI results in other domains. In games will remain a challenge to AI researchers, providing a domain in which efforts can be focused on expert systems, knowledge presentation, representation, and learning. Number 3, a statement indicating that an improvement can be done. Nowadays, games are no longer just a distraction from studies or work. They are becoming an artistic form of expression for the programmers and developers, and a serious hobby in undertaking for the players. Games are learning devices, and the fundamental quality of good learning is one which appropriate, demanding, and manageable. Games are exploring the capabilities for artificial intelligence, and the rules are fixed. The scope of the problem is constrained, and the interactions of the players are well defined. Number 4, a desire to find a better way of doing something or improving the present system. The aim of game AI is not to provide a lasting challenge, but to provide a smoothly ramping level of difficulty. while the player is learning to think either strategically, tactically, or reactively. Artificial intelligence in games takes the role of a never bored and never boring opponent. Formulating the statement of the problem or objectives of the project. There should be a general statement of the whole problem, followed by the specific questions or sub-problems into which the general problem is broken up. Here is the guidelines in formulating the general problems and specific questions. Number 1, the general statement of the problem and the specific questions should be formulated first before developing the software programs. Number 2, each specific questions must be clear and unambiguous. Number 3, answers to specific questions must contribute to the development of the whole research problem or capstone project. And number 4, the number of the specific questions should be enough to cover the whole problem or case under study. And number 5, generally, there should be a general statement of the problem and then broken up into as many specific questions as necessary. Statement of the problems refer to the challenges, goals, or objectives which are needed to be accomplished by the proponents. It has been observed that one of the common errors manifested in some capstone projects of computing students is that under the statement of the problems, they put herein those unsatisfactory conditions that need solutions. These unsatisfactory conditions should be mentioned under introduction, in general terms, and discussed in details under the project context under Chapter 1. The objectives of the study guide the researcher and the reader to know what the proponents need to do. These usually follow the chronological sequence, the statement of the problem, and each specific questions. Objectives are written by either beginning with an action verb or an infinitive. Example, to determine the efficiency of the system as perceived by the employees, or identify possible examples encountered with the present system. The sample objectives for our computer science thesis involving artificial intelligence and genetic algorithms are as follows. For general objective, this study aims to develop a game application that uses genetic algorithm for the game's artificial intelligence that can compete with the abilities of the human. Specific objectives. The following statements are the specific objectives of the study: to implement the Battleship board game in mobile phones supported with Google's Android platform, to develop artificial intelligence for Battleship game with easy and difficult level, to use genetic algorithms in developing the game's artificial intelligence. At any rate, in objectives in a statement of the problem, the totality of each objective or problem statement should contribute to the development of the software to be developed and or formulations or improvement of mathematical model algorithms and computer science theories as the case may be. The author of our reference books noticed that either a statement of the problem or objective of the study is required in any thesis or capstone project. In some schools, colleges, and universities, thesis and capstone project format both are required. Unfortunately, the only difference between the statement of the problems and objectives is that the former is written in interrogative form while the latter is written in declarative form. Based on the authors, that such is redundant. Well, it is true that one of the difference of the statement of the problems and objectives of the project is that the former is written in interrogative form while the latter is written in declarative form. The difference is not the determining factor in choosing what to use between the two. Bear in mind that in purely computer science thesis, both statement of the problems and objectives are required. In any other cases, only objectives of the study project is required. Why is this so? The real and the substantive difference between the significance of the study and objective of the study or project will reveal the answer. In purely computing thesis, the researchers need to reach new conclusions, establish new facts, and learn as much about the truth possible. Again, the author mentioned research to understand the world or to explain why things happen. In layman terms, if we want to know if Pedro is in the house in Cabuyao, the answer could be positive or negative. The question is he in the house is a researchable problem because we are not sure what will be the answer to this question. In this case, a statement of the problem should be used. Now, if we were certain already that Pedro is in the house and we want to command him to clean the house, we are certain that what will be the outcome of our purpose. That is, the house will be dirt-free or less dirty at the very last least. In this case, the objectives of the project should be used. It is also for the reasons why in the software development conclusion is not required, because in software development, the proponent begins with the end in mind. The end in the mind refers to the requirement documentation. So there is no need to conclude because the proponent is already aware of the final outcome of his design, because that is his objective or goal. Remember, we designed to make things happen, so we should not conclude and explain why things happen in a capstone project. The significance of the study and purpose and description. As the outset, the student should be made aware that in CHED, suggested template for thesis or capstone project, significance of the study is only included in computer science thesis concerning foundation of computer science. Other topics in computer science as well as those of capstone projects require purpose and description. The significance of the study, the statement of the significance is an important part of a scientific report, particularly in computer science. Thesis involving foundation of computer science. All scientific studies should be significant in one way or another because, as mentioned in Chapter 1, it is intended to add to the body of knowledge. The significance of the study, therefore, will assert and explain to the reader why the study is vital and essential. Simply stated, this part of the thesis will provide the contribution of your study to the field of computing science. In other countries, this part of the thesis is termed as contributions. The purpose and description. The purpose and description as part of the outline for capstone project as well as that of a computer science thesis involving software development is similar but not identical to significance of the study of a computer science thesis involving foundation of computer science. In writing purpose and description, the proponent must state the function of his capstone project. It should not attempt to claim that the project will add to the body of knowledge. It is for the reasons that the authors humbly submit. The members of the panel of examiners should not ask the proponents the following questions. Okay, what is the contribution of your capstone project to the body of knowledge? This is because IT and IS capstone project generally do not contribute to the body of knowledge but focuses on the contribution of the project to each specific beneficiaries. Here is the importance of the capstone project must contain explanation or discussion of any or all of the following. The rationale, timelines, and relevance of the study. Possible solutions to existing problems or improvement to unsatisfactory conditions, the beneficiaries and how they are going to benefited, possible contributions to the fund of knowledge, and possible implications. In writing purpose and description, the features and capabilities should be written in such a way that it would highlight the significance of the project. Furthermore, It should be written using a general language and non-technical terms. This is to distinguish if the requirement documentation which state what the software will do in greater details. Requirement documentation will be discussed after or under chapter 4 of our book. After enumerating the project's features and capabilities, the last paragraph should explain project rationale, timeliness and relevance of illustrating that it will solve existing problems, possible beneficiaries as well implications may also be given, and others. The scope and the limitation of the study and the scope and limitation of the study. The section may be subdivided into two parts, the scope and delimitation and limitation of the study. The scope and delimitation of the study should include a brief statement of the general purpose of the study, the target users or beneficiaries of the study, the period of the study, and the feature of the proposed software. The limitation of the study includes the weaknesses of the study beyond the control of the researcher. This section may not be included in the study if there is no such weaknesses of the study beyond the control of the researchers. But prior to theoretical framework and conceptual framework, we have an important definition of terms to mention. For the purpose of this study, the following technical terms were used and defined to serve as reference to the readers. Program testing is very important. It is a method of using the program for the purpose of error checking. Computer information system. It is a computer system used to collect, sort, process, and present information to support its organizational needs. Operational terms. For the purpose of this study, the following terms were used and operationally defined to serve as reference to the readers. Sometimes we're using pretest. Pretest is the test given to all students in the three groups before the actual experiment to determine the comparability of the group and to determine the stored knowledge of the students. And of course, the post-test, it is the test given to all students in the three groups after the experiment. The theoretical and conceptual frameworks are not specifically mentioned in the computer science thesis and IT Capstone Project in CHED's suggested template. However, it doesn't mean they are not required. In Capstone projects, specifically in IS Capstone Project, the theoretical and conceptual framework should be required. Recall that the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology programs is the study of the utilization of both hardware and software technologies in planning, installing, customizing, operating, managing, administering, and maintaining IT infrastructure that provides computing solutions to address the needs of the organization, while the Bachelor of Science Information System provides include the study of application and effect of information technology to organization. Consequently, one of its program outcomes read as follows: an ability to analyze the problem, identify, and define the computing requirements with respect to organizational factors appropriate to its solution, and plan strategies for their solutions. Thus, in designing the IS plans, the theoretical and conceptual framework or both shall be necessary. In an IT Capstone project, the development of software is strongly influenced by both the internal as well as the external environment of the concerned organization under study. These environments include the culture, processes, standards, nature of business, policies, ethical and legal constraints, among others. Henceforth, the conceptual or theoretical framework shall be necessary. While it is true that these frameworks are not explicitly included in CHED's suggested template, they are implicitly included under requirement analysis of an IT/IS Capstone Project and under Design and Methodology under Computer Science thesis involving software development, regardless of the template or the place where these frameworks will be written. The following sections will provide the readers how to write them. In writing the theoretical framework presents the theory from which the research problem was derived in the case of some experimental studies, or to which it is linked in the case of some survey studies. In formulating the theoretical framework for the study, you may look at the various theories upon which you serve as the basis for the study. The theoretical framework is a symbolic construction which uses abstract concepts, facts or laws, variables and their relations that explain and predicts how an observed phenomenon exists and operates. An investigator is required to formulate existing theories which link his study because theories are useful devices for interpreting, criticizing, and unifying established scientific laws or facts that guide in discovering new generalization. A theoretical framework is based on an existing explanatory theory or theories which may form the basis for the researcher's observations and become the frame of reference by which the conceptual framework may be derived. The framework may be existing models from previous empirical researches or theories which are applicable to the current research. The theoretical framework shapes the justification of the research problems in order to provide the legal basis for defining its parameters. It is desirable for an investigator to identify key concepts that are used in the study for better understanding of the role of theory and research. The conceptual framework presents the relationships between the specific concepts that may be studied. The concepts used at this level should be derived from the concept used in the theoretical framework. They should be more concrete. After initial exploration of research so far on the topic, the author can make a more specific conceptual framework. It is at this point important that the author operationalizes or define at least and possible indicates how concept can be measured or judged, the various concepts in the research question method, and how he will investigate the topic. A conceptual framework is a collection of interrelated concepts like a theory but not necessarily so well worked out. A conceptual framework guides your research, determining what things you will measure and what statistical relationship you will look for. The conceptual framework will be accompanied by a symbolic representation of a phenomenon or a diagram, usually given a schematic representation using arrows and boxes. And this will be my references. So, SHED Memorandum Order 25, Series of 2015, Outcomes-Based Practical Guide to Thesis and Capstone Project Writing in Computing by Dr. Lavinia and his groups. Practical Guide for Writing Information Technology Education by Dr. Balahaja in his groups. And thank you, everyone. Good luck. I hope that you are now able to craft your chapter 1. If you have any question, please post your comments here. Thank you. Don't forget to watch, like, share, and subscribe. Hashtag DocMelo the author. Good morning, everyone.